The defense is set to make its case in the trial of Marine veteran Daniel Penny. He is accused in the death of a homeless man on a New York City subway. It was all caught on cell phone video. Penny says Jordan Neely was acting erratically and that he put the 32-year-old in a chokehold to protect himself and others on the train. Prosecutors, though, said he held on too long after Neely was subdued. Here with us is legal analyst and trial attorney Rich Schoenstein. Rich, welcome back.
Good morning.
Now, with the defense set to make its case tomorrow, what kind of argument are you expecting?
I think there are two fundamental arguments in this case for the defense, because there's no question about what happened, that he was put in this chokehold, Jordan Neely was put in a chokehold, and he died. So the questions have always been, one, was it exclusively the chokehold that caused the death? And on that argument, I think so far the prosecution is winning. And two, was there justification for the defendant to put him in a chokehold in the first place? You know, the argument is that it was reckless to do it, that he should have foreseen it might have ended up in death. But there's also testimony from other people on the train, even in the prosecution's case, that they too were scared of Jordan Neely, that they too thought there was a problem here. And that's going to resonate, I think, with the jurors.
We've heard a mix of witness testimony, like you mentioned, from people on the train. Some supported Penny restraining Neely, like you mentioned. Others wanted him to stop. How are those voices going to land for the jury that are in the courtroom?
So I think this jury, you have a New York City jury. They've
Right.
all ridden the subway probably many times. They're going to try to put themselves on that train. The prosecution and the defense is going to both ask them to put themselves on the train. What would they think? How would they act? And they're going to listen to those other witnesses. And I don't know which witnesses are going to resonate the most for them. But if the jurors, or even some of them, think they too would have been scared on that train on that day, that's going to really inure to Daniel Penny's benefit.
The medical examiner, and you alluded to this, was pretty declarative in stating that Penny's chokehold killed Neely. Of course, that's an important factor to establish for the jury, but how could it impact the case?
Well, it's a vital factor.
Right.
Cause of death is an essential element. So you have to be able to prove that chokehold caused the death. There's been argument that Jordan Neely was, some sort of drug addict, or he was addled in some way where he might have died for other causes. That didn't really make a lot of sense. And the testimony of the medical examiner was pretty solid. I assume the defense is going to have some kind of answer, some kind of witness of their own to try to rebut that. But that is a key element of the case. You can't have this case unless the chokehold caused the death.
Going back to the jury, they saw some pretty graphic play-by-play of the altercation. That video was hard to watch. How difficult is it for a jury to separate out that kind of grisly imagery that we saw and actually come to an impartial verdict?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to, if you're the prosecution, you want them to be a little bit emotional about it, that this man was on the subway and he was killed by being put in this chokehold and not released for over 6 minutes. It's an incredible thing in trials now that we so frequently have extensive video like this, that the jurors can, almost literally be there on the train watching what happened. And it says to me, again, we ask so much of jurors in this country that we have them interact with this kind of evidence, which has to be shocking and has to have impact on them personally, no matter what decision they render in the trial. It's really a lot that we put jurors through.
One of the first responders testified that Penny did not realize that Neely had died after that chokehold. Could that factor into the jury's deliberations?
I think it does factor into it. I think it's pretty clear that Daniel Penny did not intend to kill Jordan Neely. I think it's pretty clear that he didn't put him in a chokehold hoping to strangle him to death. So the question in this trial is, did he use sort of excessive force? Did he do it so recklessly, using much more force than he needed to address the situation, if he needed to address it at all? The fact that he didn't even realize that it had killed Jordan Neely, that is to his benefit as well, I think.
All right, we will be watching. Always appreciate your insight, Rich Schoenstein. Thank you.
Good to be here.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.